Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. In today's video, I want to break down exactly my process of moving to Dubai, getting a company set up, getting a visa, residency, and all that good stuff. So I've been in Dubai for around 3 months now and absolutely love it. So I would say if you have a business where you have location freedom and also time freedom, I actually highly recommend that you perhaps look into moving to Dubai. Anyways, before we get started, I just want to say if you're actually looking to move to Dubai, move your business and your entire life down here, I would recommend that you actually look at finding a company that can help you with the whole process, because that's what I did. So full disclaimer, I work with a company called European Emirates Group. Now this is not sponsored or anything, but I use those guys and it just made everything much easier. They literally took care of everything for me and I basically just had to show up for the different appointments and fill out all the paperwork. And yeah, it might cost a bit of money, but I would actually say it's well worth it. So for me, setting up the company, getting the residency and all that, it cost me around 7 grand end to end to get everything done. But with that being said, let's get into it. So there's a couple things you can and I would actually recommend you get done before moving to Dubai, and then there's certain things you need to be physically present in Dubai for to actually get done. So the whole process for me to get everything set up, I needed to get set up before I moved to Dubai. It took around 3 weeks or so. So maybe add a little buffer to that just to make sure like you're not running out of time. So I would say if you just get everything started like 5 to 6 weeks before like your goal, it shouldn't really take more than that. I would say it shouldn't even take more than 4 weeks. But so the first thing I needed to get set up was a company, right? And I got a free zone company for tax reasons. So it's not really a big issue, but if you don't get a free zone company, you essentially just have to pay 9% corporate tax. There's still 0% personal income tax. But when you have a free zone company, you don't have to pay any corporate tax unless you do business with other UAE mainland businesses. So just for reference, if you want to have a free zone company and not pay any corporate tax, don't do business with other Dubai companies. And it's basically what everyone else does. So when people talk about 0% corporate tax in Dubai, it's because they have a free zone company and they don't do any other business with other Dubai companies. So getting the whole company set up for me was pretty simple. Everything I basically had to do was just fill out some paperwork, do some normal KYC, send in my passport, my driver's license, all that good stuff. And then I was basically good to go. There's not a lot to it, to be honest. But ideally, you want to have your company set up before you move to Dubai, because you can get a free visa from your company showing that you're coming to Dubai to actually get your business completely set up and you're trying to obtain residency. And then you basically get a free visa that lasts you 60 to 90 days. And what I was told is that if you don't do that, but you just fly into Dubai on a normal tourist visa, right, you would have to upgrade to that temporary visa regardless, and that will run you like $1,200 or something just to upgrade. So you might as well just save the money and just get the company set up beforehand. But once I had the company set up, I could get my visa and then I was basically good to go. I could just fly to Dubai like any other tourist and get the rest set up. And then once I was in Dubai, I basically just had 2 things to do to get my residency or Emirates ID, which is basically proof that you're a resident. And the Emirates ID is sort of like what everything is connected to, from your phone bill to your apartment. Everything is sort of linked to the Emirates ID. It kind of works like a social security card. So since I needed my Emirates ID to rent an apartment long term, right, on a yearly contract, what I did is I just rented an Airbnb for a month until I have my Emirates ID. So the process was actually fairly quick. I arrived on a Sunday morning, like 1 a.m. and Monday morning I got picked up by a car to go get my medical test done. The test is basically they just draw some blood and do an x-ray scan or something. Like it literally took 5 minutes for me walking into the clinic until I was out, and the drive was like 30 minutes. So that was like super swift and easy. So that waiting process was around a week, and then I had another 2 weeks of waiting until I actually had my appointment for the biometric scan. So the 3 weeks total waiting time. The scan itself only took like 2 minutes. Like all they basically do is they just scan your fingerprints. But the drive to the actual clinic or facility was like 30 minutes, and then I had to stand in a queue for like an hour and a half. So just be prepared for that. I don't know if it was like super busy when I was there, but it was a very long queue. And so if you have any meetings like scheduled for that day, just cancel them because you don't know how long it's going to take. But yeah, once you get in, they just scan your fingers and that's it. 2 minutes in and out. Easy. So as you can maybe tell, there wasn't a lot to it. And obviously this was also due to the fact that I hired a company to do it for me and assist me in the process. And I was willing to spend that extra money, and you can do it online yourself for sure. But you have to ask yourself, like, are you willing to actually take the risk of applying for everything and then messing something up, doing something wrong, and then that resulting in you not getting the residency or your Emirates ID? For me, it wasn't something I was willing to risk. And to be honest, I will say if you're looking to move to Dubai and 7K is a big issue to get stuff like this sorted, you probably shouldn't move here because everything in Dubai costs money. And if 7K for such an important thing is going to be a big issue, you're going to have trouble down the line, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, moving on from that. So once I had the Emirates ID, I could start setting up my actual life, getting a bank account, renting an actual apartment long term, etc, etc. So getting a personal bank account was actually super easy. I just called up Emirates NBD that's their name. And a guy came to my apartment like the same day, and the next day I had a bank account set up, and then I basically just had to wait for my debit card. Getting a business bank account set up though is a bit more tricky and takes much longer if you want to go with a traditional bank. So if you want to go with a traditional bank like Emirates NBD or there's a bunch of others, it will take at least a month. That's what I've heard from other people, and there's a lot of paperwork involved. Like they want to see a business plan, they want to see who's your main clients in the UAE and who's your main clients outside of UAE. Like there's a ton to it. So what I did is I just set up a business bank account with an online bank. They're called Weo, but like you can find millions of these online, right? Like Revolut. I don't know if Revolut exactly works in the UAE, but there's tons of online banks. And basically I applied on a Sunday, and the next Monday, so a week after, I literally have my debit card in hand, and 3 days after I applied, I have my bank account set up. So that was super swift and easy, and yeah, it's also actually the cheapest alternative out there to an actual bank, much cheaper than a traditional bank. Just remember though, like you do need your passport and you do need your Emirates ID to also open a business bank account. So everything sort of happens after you set up your Emirates ID, right? Get your Emirates ID, just rent an Airbnb, chill out for a month, and then once you have your Emirates ID, you can kind of start setting up your life. In terms of getting an apartment and renting an apartment long term, I will say you need to find a real estate agent, and obviously that person should take you through everything, right? But just to give you a little bit of detail so you kind of know sort of what the process is. In Dubai, you have a lot of websites where you can just search for apartments online. So what I use is I just use Property Finder. They have like basically every single apartment out there listed. So what you do is you reach out to the different real estate agents through WhatsApp. WhatsApp is super big in Dubai. It's not really a thing in Denmark, so I was a little bit shocked, but if you're used to WhatsApp, I mean, that's perfect. But do just note though that a lot of the real estate agents out there will have fake listings, apartments that are actually not sale or actually available to the market. And this is just a marketing trick they use to generate leads and generate new clients. And to me, I didn't want to go with a real estate agent that did those sort of marketing tricks. Just be a little bit aware if you inquire for an apartment and say, oh, no, it's not available, but I have this and this and this, then it was probably just a fake listing all along, and they're just trying to get your business. Just be aware of that. So what I suggest you do, you just reach out to a bunch of different real estate agents, right? Get on the phone with them, talk to them, find someone that speaks good English and that you actually like, and then work closely with that person to find you an apartment. Because what they can do is they can look at the listings you may find online, and then they can tell you if the listing is fake or not. And if it's not fake, they can contact the real estate agent from the seller side and then hash out an agreement and kind of take that process away from you so you don't have to deal with it. Also, they can use their own network to find apartments that may not be listed, but find apartments through, you know, their contacts and whatnot. And that's what happened to me. So the apartment I'm in right now was actually not listed, but I got a viewing because he had a connection with a person that's in the building. So once you find an apartment you actually like, the process is actually super quick and easy. You get a contract to sign. Contracts here in Dubai are like standardized. It's like a one-page contract, so that's super easy. So you sign the contract and then you take it to the Ijari office, which is what it's called, and basically get it stamped there by the government, and that means that you're now the legal tenant of the apartment. So if there's ever any dispute, then you have that stamp, and that's basically your confirmation that okay, you actually rent this place. And then in terms of payment, you either just paid everything up front with a bank transfer. That's what I did. It gives you a little bit more negotiation power, or you do a checkbook. So they actually like checkbooks a lot here, like an actual physical checkbook. You then give them based on the terms. Maybe you pay, you know, twice a year or every month, but you basically fill out the entire rent in your checkbook. So let's say you have to pay over 12 months, you actually fill out the checkbook for 12 months, give it to a landlord, and then they go and cash it in every single month. But yeah, as I said, I just paid it up front because then I don't have to think about it, and rent is paid for the entire year, which is nice feeling. Then the last thing here is basically just internet and electricity, and that's also super simple. Dubai is actually pretty streamlined in most of the processes here. Electricity and water is run through something called Diwa, and you basically just apply online once you have your Ijari, and then they just turn on the water electricity for you online. And it takes a couple hours, if not instant. Like I got my Ijari stamped the same day I had to move in, like 2 hours before. And once I had my Ijari, I just called the Diwa office and said, hey, I'm moving in 2 hours. Could you please turn on the water and electricity? And once I got to my apartment 2 hours later, there was water and electricity. So yeah, pretty streamlined, super simple. Internet is done like it is around around most of the world, I would assume. Like, you just call a internet provider. Here they use Etisalat or Do. Just call them up, say, hey, I would like some internet. They come to your apartment, set up the router and everything, and yeah, within a day or maybe same day. For me, it took 4 days because they messed up a little bit. Pretty quickly, you have internet up and running. Internet is quite pricey, but it's also super fast, so sort of a trade-off. I don't mind. I like the quick internet. But yeah, call them up and they get it fixed for you. But yeah, and that's basically everything there is to it. I'd say my experience overall has been pretty smooth, and yeah, the process of getting into Dubai and becoming a resident been super easy, and for the most part pretty joyful. Not a lot of hiccups, so small hiccups with the apartment and moving into that, but that was just a little bit of unfortunate events. But as I said, I would highly recommend you find a company that can set everything up for you and kind of guide you through the process. I don't know if 7K is expensive or not. I certainly know people who paid 15, 16, 17K to get the same thing that I did. Maybe you can find it for cheaper, I don't know, but I paid 7K, so you can use that as ballpark reference. But yeah, that pretty much sums up today's video. I hope it gave some clarity on the process of moving to Dubai and, gave you a little bit of insight into, what can you expect coming to Dubai. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you could give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't. And if you have any questions about moving to Dubai, feel free to leave a comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.